Let's do another meditation. A little more meditation. So we're heading toward the vital spot. We're trying to understand. We've just meditated on equanimity. And first, calm your mind. See if you can calm it quickly by just watching the nature of the mind for some time. All appearances are just like clouds in the spaciousness of the mind. So let them go. Even when they're facing you, seem to be resilient and continuing. Just defocus on them and try to sense the nature of the mind within which they're residing. Let them dissipate. Find your own Buddha nature again, your own equanimity again. Now within that quiet state of mind, try to cultivate the first of the causes to develop warm heart or affectionate love. That is the recognition of mother. In Tibetan we say ma she. Recognizing that all living beings have been your mother. How is that? Well, our present mother of this lifetime, was perhaps not our mother in a previous life, immediate previous life, the one right before this. But somewhere, even maybe the life before that, she was not our mother, or the life before that, but somewhere over the infinite continuity of past lives, our present mother was mother once before. And likewise, before that, our present mother, before that previous time of mother, she was also our mother in some other lifetime. Over numberless infinity of lives, our present mother likewise has been our mother numberless times. Although we don't recognize her now as our mother of past lives, she has been our mother numberless times. Now take another person, some either stranger or enemy or friend that is not our mother this lifetime. Somewhere, just as our present mother, somewhere in the past was our mother before, over the course of numberless lifetimes, due to the change of karma and changing karmic connections, this individual that I do not recognize as mother now has been my mother sometime in the past. And from that stage on, further back, just like our mother had been our mother numberless times in other lifetimes. Consider our last life's mother. Where is she now? She may be amongst us right now. She may be an animal that we know, she may be a human, she may be a spirit that we've had some connection with, or we may have no immediate connection with her. But how could we know? Our mother of past life could be right in front of us right now, but due to the change of appearance, we don't recognize her as mother. The Buddha himself said that even with his clairvoyance, when he went back to try to see a time when sentient beings were not our mother, any one sentient being had exhausted our relationship of their having been our mother, he could not find a time like that. There was always a previous time that living beings had been our mother. Think about that for some time and just try to hold that sense. All living beings, even though they appear differently now, are equal in having been mother. Exactly equal to my present mother. Think of individuals. Think of the enemies. Like our present mother, there's no difference between them in having been friends, enemies, and strangers, but in particular, they have been our mother just as our present mother has numberless times in the past. Likewise, our friends and strangers. All equally have been mother. Now enhance this understanding with a second step, second cause, that when they have been mother, they have been kind. Although some individual experiences of this lifetime may be unique. Maybe we were harmed in some way by our mother. But over the course of time, think of the kindness of mothers in general, if we can think in this lifetime. They underwent privation, suffering, in order for us to be born. Put up with the pregnancy, avoiding certain activities while they were pregnant, avoiding certain foods so that we could be healthy. They put up with the pain of pregnancy and the pain of birth. So they gave us this life, which is incredibly valuable. And in other lifetimes, they gave us lives they could have opted not to. They gave us, from the time of our birth, protection, even though we were totally unable to take care of ourselves, unlike a cow or baby camel that can get up and start to walk. We wouldn't have survived had they not protected us, wrapped us in cloth, held us. They gave us enjoyments also, food from that time, from their very body, from their breast. Later they sought food, even working, sometimes having to sell their body to get food for us, enjoyments. They educated us. They taught us everything from how to speak the first words to how to go to the toilet, how to sew, to cook, how to be good. They sought as much as they were able to appreciate a good education for us. Even later, when we grew up, they still thought of us as their child, their lovely child. They wanted us to marry well, have good enjoyments. How much suffering did our mother of this lifetime undergo for us, protecting us, educating us, giving us pleasures? Now think of our present mother in that way, remembering her kindness. I think she has been this way numberless times. Even as an animal, she saved my lives numberless times. Took me, baby chicken, up to the branch at night to protect me from the skunks, the rodents. With incredible effort. As a goose, she led the fox on a wild goose chase to keep away from her babies. Gave her own life. Numberless times, out of love for me, out of compassion for me, she worked in order that I have enjoyments and education. Even selling herself in virtual bondage sometime. She died for me, protecting me, saving me from fires, was constantly alert that I didn't stick my finger in the electric sockets or fall into the river or fall off the rock that we lived on. And she gave me so much affection, looked at me with loving eyes, her loving child, her loved child. My present mother has been depthlessly kind. And exactly in the same way, all living beings who have also been my mother numberless times have been depthlessly kind. Perhaps first thinking of it in terms of your own mother now and applying it to others, or individually seeing imagining the continuity of previous relationships of mother with all living beings. Try to get a sense of the feeling of the kindness. All living beings have been mother and kind. Not just mother, labeled mother, but depthlessly kind. Even this lifetime, when someone has been kind, but then later we're with them for some reason and they do something that we find annoying or boorish or inappropriate, still we're hesitant to harm them in any way, remembering their kindness because of the imminence of that. It's clarity in our mind, how kind they are. In the same way, keeping in mind, meditating, becoming familiar with the fact that all living beings have been mother and kind. We not only start to develop one of the causes of heartwarming love, but we feel hesitant to do anything to harm them, our mother. If you get a feeling of that, try to hold it single-pointedly. Mother is kind because she's given body, protection, enjoyments, education. Numberless times. So then relax, bring your attention back to the present. That makes some sense? It's said that Atisha, the great Indian guru who came to Tibet and whose teacher had taught him the wheel of sharp weapons, who was incredibly renowned for his bodhicitta, especially training of the mind, that he had practiced for so long. And when he went to Tibet, supposedly wherever he went, he would practice this meditation. He would see cows in the field, and his disciples could hear him saying, "Mother," recognizing, even maybe for ourselves, to remind ourselves that way. Maybe that would be good. Maybe people would, because it's used as a kind of pejorative in this. I mean, people might misunderstand. You say, "Mother," they might get so. But so maybe you better say it silently, or you could say "Ama," which in Tibetan maybe they wouldn't be threatened then by that, and even if they overhear you. I think, all of these beings have been my mother, and now it's so amazing. I don't recognize you now. Like our mother, we might have been separated when we were very young from our mother. We searched for her for a long time. Finally, we find her in a mental hospital. She doesn't recognize us. She's crazy. She's throwing things at us in anger. She doesn't recognize us as her son or daughter, but we still feel incredible compassion for her. Like that. People throwing things at us, or Keith's people that they feel they're destroying the environment or hurting other people. It's like our mothers, doing these things. So this is in the sequence of developing bodhicitta. This is one of the ways of developing the warmth of mind, by recognizing that all living beings have been our mother. So let's take a break for lunch. Comfortable? So again, relax your holy bodies. Relax your mind. Place your attention on your breathing. Forcefully bringing your attention to the respiration, let go of the continuity of these discursive thoughts that are coursing through your mind, just through the force of your mindfulness to the breathing. Then withdraw your attention even further to the more subtle object of the consciousness, mental consciousness. Try to cultivate the factor of wisdom that's recognizing the nature of this mind as non-obstructive, what we call clear light. Non-obstructive to thoughts and not obstructed by them. Reflective like a mirror. Cognizing, knowing. See if you can get the feeling of all of the thoughts that may still be arising as though they were transparent, and seeing through them, focus your attention on the substratum of the mind, the so-called spaciousness of the mind within which they're arising. Recognizing this nature of our mind, this quiet, luminous state, as our conventional Buddha potential. Recall that all living beings have this potential. Remember the meditation, recall the meditation on the recognition of all living beings as having been our mother. This is not our only life. We've had numberless lives before. The so-called substance, if you will, merely imputed that. The subtlemost mind and subtlemost wind that has connected as a thread, as a tantra between these various births, manifesting in different realms and different experiences numberless times in the past. Many of those times we've had mothers. Sometimes we've had miraculous birth, sometimes, such as the hell realms or other realms, there has not been a mother, or the formless realm, but many of our births we've been born with mothers. And over the course of those numberless births, each and every sentient being has been our mother, not just once, but an equal number of times to anyone else. They have not only been our mother numberless times, but kind, depthlessly kind. Even the mother of this lifetime that we can use as an example, recognizing her kindness in giving us this body, putting up with sufferings, privations that we might have this life, protecting us, the myriad times she had to watch us continually when we were a child crawling around, or as an animal or other realms, protected us from the various kinds of suffering, even giving her own life. She educated us, speaking, spelling, counting, how to keep ourselves clean, how to sew, how to cook, almost everything you think of, any quality you have today, you may be able to trace back to the kindness of Mother's initial guidance, her admonitions to us. Be good. She educated us, gave us enjoyments. Each and every sentient being, as this example of our current mother, has been kind in just as profound a way numberless times. Beginning to have some feeling of that, of recognizing the kindness, remembering the kindness. Now the third stage of intensifying this is to call to mind a state of justice, you might say in your mind, to feel compelled to repay that kindness. Even in our society, when someone has been the recipient of kindness of others, we see it as almost barbarian that that person would not repay or at least note the kindness of others. To cavalierly just accept kindness of others without any sense of repaying it is considered, even in worldly terms, very infantile, childlike behavior. All these beings who've looked after us with care, even in their hands, held us, protected us, guided us numberless times in the past, we don't recognize them now as Mother, many of them, but they are deserving of our respect, our sense of repaying their kindness. How can we do that? Could we repay their depthless kindness through offering them livelihood, food, clothing, warmth? Certainly that would be a suitable thing to do, to offer them kindness like that, all living beings. At least a smile, help in crossing the street, help walking, carrying their groceries. Even if we gave them jewels and wealth for this lifetime, looked after their health care, gave them all the possible joys of this life, we would not be able to repay their kindness, even if we extended that in the future, even if we had the resources to extend that to every sentient being in the future. Because anything that we offered them would be exhausted quickly, even if we offered them jewels or food or protection from temporary suffering. If we cured their illness, the root cause of all of their suffering and dis-ease, unease, is within their own continuum. The afflictions creating karma, all of it based on self-grasping and the self-cherishing thought. The best way, the only suitable way that I can repay their kindness is through the gift of Dharma. That Dharma not meaning some particular text or one particular recitation or some ritual we do, but offering to them, cultivating their mind in such a way that it can be infused with Dharma realization over time, so that they themselves can overcome and have a resource in the future to be free of suffering. This is how I, the daughter or son, should repay my mothers. If I do not do it, I, the son or daughter, do not repay their kindness, who will? who will take care of these sentient beings. So again, recall the thought, all living beings have been my mother, and kind. And with that thought, see if you can engender this particular sense of repaying, a sense of responsibility to repay their kindness, recognizing that which is suitable to repay is the Dharma. I might think, I, the thankless son of all living beings, have been oblivious of their kindness and my responsibility to living beings up till now. I should make use of this perfect opportunity, this lifetime, to begin to repay their kindness. Go one step further and see if you can develop the next step of what we call heartwarming love, attractive love. All these living beings that have been kind to us have been our mother, to whom we're indebted to their kindness. In sensing them now, this particular kind of mind can begin to arise by itself. It says in the great writings of the former masters. But here, if we make special application, we can try to enhance that. Looking with your mind's eye toward all, who you recall again and again are equal in being friend, enemy, and stranger, equal in being suitable to be recipients of your love and compassion. All of them have been kind, taken care of us, been our closest friend numberless times. Look at them with a warm heart as you recall that close bond with them over numberless lives, even if we seem isolated or oppressed this lifetime for some transitory reasons. The plight of these living beings, all of our former mothers, sentient beings, is such that although they have, like ourselves, a mind stream of clear light nature, because of familiarity over numberless lifetimes with the appearance of true existence, the grasping to that, they're completely as though hallucinating. They want to be happy, but often destroy the very causes of their happiness, even their samsaric happiness. Destroy it with anger. They want to be free of suffering, but in trying to flee from suffering, be free from it, unskillfully, with self-grasping, self-cherishing thought, they create the cause for more suffering. So see if you can also generate a sense of the sequential thought of great compassion. Here, not just heartwarming love that sees them as kind and attractive, but now recognizing their plight, like ourself, under the influence of the delusions, but not necessarily so. We could be, and they could be free if we cultivated wisdom, cultivated altruism. All these kind mother sentient beings are mothers of old, suffering all of the pains of cyclic existence again and again in the wheel of life. Sometimes in the deepest hells, as though body and mind merged with heat or cold, weapons, fear. Many times the spirits, hungry ghosts, as though walking the streets, never finding what they long for, just as we may do sometime in our own lifetime, longing so much for companionship or friendship or recognition or success, never finding it. As animals, they've undergone oppression, being devoured by others, being within the food cycle of other animals, always fearful, being used by others as food, as sources of fur and bone and organs, meat. All these have been our mother in the past. All of the pains of sentient beings as humans, depression, longing, expectation, even such a short life, never finding real happiness, only few moments occasionally of some mere relief, only to be replaced by even greater suffering. Even the gods are not immune. All of mother sentient beings who've been born in the God realms are there now, experiencing perhaps the greatest pleasure within ordinary cyclic existence, but still not out of the nature of suffering, still dukkha, unsatisfactory. Even they have some great physical or mental bliss, contaminated bliss, that itself is no more than relief. It can't be sustained. The causes of it, both the outer cooperative conditions and the karmic causes, exhaust. And when they do, the contact with the outer conditions actually is experienced as suffering. Compassion here, in this point, fifth point of great compassion, is a state of mind that recognizes the suffering of others and, having empathized with them out of a sense of affection for them, wishes them to be free of that, and goes beyond mere compassion, or the great compassion that's recognized in the Hinayana. Here, great compassion has the sense of ourself feeling responsible as being the son or daughter of all these mother sentient beings. Seeing their suffering, I myself must remove that. If I don't, who else will? If in a very isolated place, you're in a hotel and you meet some people, someone falls ill, There's no one else to tend for them. You may develop a sense of great empathy for them, great sense of compassion, wishing them to be free, and actually be motivated to care for them. If I don't care for them, they're just going to languish here in their room. They're going to die. Like that, to take the courageous decision, I myself must eliminate this suffering of other sentient beings. Recognizing its conventional reality as unsuitable, knowing that it can be eliminated. Take to mind the various realms of cyclic existence, the hell realms, the hot and cold hells, the hungry ghost realm, the animal realm, the upper realms of humans, asuras and devas, recognizing that all of them are suffering, and even if they temporarily are in a state of relief, that the wheel will again pull them under. This sense of sadness the Bodhisattva cultivates because it is not conjoined with self-cherishing, but a wish that others be free from this misery. See if you can hold that, if you get a taste of that sense of compassion, which may rise more or less naturally, depending on your past familiarity. Try to hold on to it single-pointedly if it can rise. All these sentient beings, under the influence of ignorance that grasps to a self, that gives rise to all of the afflictions, embellished with the demon of the self-cherishing thought. Wouldn't it be wonderful if I could eliminate that suffering for them, repay their kindness? And relax, bring your attention back to the present. Any comments, observations?
I have a lot of trouble with this meditation because the moment I think that they've been my mother numberless times and they give me all this kindness, I also think that I've been their mother numberless times and I've shown them.
So they owe me, right?
So what is it that necessitates that I owe them, that I should become enlightened and pull them into the boat? That's what I'm trying to understand. And the closest that I've come to something that could be a reason for that is something that you said once about the karmic connection of beings. And that there are beings out there who, because of their karmic connection to me, will not achieve enlightenment until I achieve enlightenment first, and then can bring them. That's the first thing that I heard that seems to indicate that, a reason why I owe it to them to become enlightened, because some of them will never achieve enlightenment without me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's certainly one point, but this is one of the great questions that comes up in the various texts on the Bodhisattva activity. One of the qualms or doubts that can arise in the mind, Shantideva is always addressing those. It's not as though sometimes you might think he's trying to bring up some other points, criticizing the Buddhist system, but not at all. These are points that he actually addresses, these kinds of doubts. So for instance, when we think about the kindness of sentient beings, one doubt, similar kind of doubt could be, well, okay, so they've been kind. Yeah, right, they've been kind numberless times, but they've also been my worst enemy numberless times. Yeah? But if we understand in the right way what is constructive, what we can see is to focus on the good that others have done to us, done for us. Without their help, we would never have achieved any of the relief within cyclic existence, or very little of it. The cooperative conditions of others. They paid us our salary. They became our companions. They were our family members. They prepared the meals and so forth. If you were to focus on just the suffering that they gave, one way to understand the inappropriateness of that is that our suffering fundamentally has arisen because of the karmic seeds that we have laid, the negative karma that we've created in past lives. And the sentient beings that have been the individuals who have caused us to the ripening of that karma. This must be my mother. She doesn't want to go there. Come on, Mom. What did you say? Yeah, it has to be. Who else would be so tenacious? Okay, please, enjoy. Just a little to the left. Okay, thanks. It has to be Medicine Buddha manifesting Mama Soba.
Your past mother coming to visit.
Definitely past mother. No way this could not be my mother. Every sentient being's been my mother. This is definitely my mother. So it's said to be more skillful to recognize that if you focus on that which is conducive for generating the positive qualities, you have a choice. You could focus on that, or you could focus like someone in a dire state of mind on that everyone has been bad to you in the past. That particular state of mind leads to negative thoughts, negative karma, egoism. It doesn't eventually get to the point where you can overcome those negative states of mind. Whereas focusing on the good that others have done, although one could bring this logical, intellectual argument that they have been harmful just as many times, focusing on the good that they have done brings one to the point where one begins to open the heart and actually overcome the self-cherishing, cherishing others, which is the aim of this. Okay? Here in the 7 methods of cause and effect, the causes and effect, there's not a separate meditation on the benefits of cherishing others and the shortcomings of self-cherishing. That's found in the other method of equalizing and exchanging self with others. Here, I think it comes about through this recalling of their kindness and being impelled, thinking of them as mothers, remembering that they have been our mothers, wishing to repay that kind of outward sense of sensing all living beings as suitable to be cherished comes about from that way of thinking. It's said that the bodhisattvas sometimes cultivate ways of thinking that are not logical, but are, in terms of practice, conducive to developing spiritual qualities. Like, for instance, you know the three kinds of bodhicitta. Okay. Three kinds of, but not one. Three kinds. Oh, that was 1 minute. Three kinds of bodhicitta. The, what is it called? King-like bodhicitta, boatman-like bodhicitta, or say boat person. I should say emperor. I shouldn't say king, right? Or should I say ruler type bodhicitta? Yeah. Boat person like bodhicitta, and shepherd like bodhicitta. So the ruler type bodhicitta is one that thinks, I will achieve enlightenment, and then from that state of omniscience, being Buddha, I will lead all sentient beings to enlightenment. The boatman-like bodhicitta, or the boat person-like bodhicitta, thinks, while I'm going to enlightenment, like a boat person, I will take everyone across the sea of samsara. Just wait a second. Oh, who's that? Oh, Beth. Ah. This is the sleep-like bodhicitta. You okay? You feel okay?
I'm okay, yeah.
Okay. You need some water or something?
No, I just have these rods in my back, so I can't sit for
Steel rods.
Is it okay?
That you have rods in your back?
They're titanium.
Oh, not steel. Okay, titanium. Certainly. And so the boatman-like thinks, I will bring sentient beings to enlightenment along with myself, same time. Shepherd-like bodhicitta, the cultivation, it's just named shepherd-like bodhicitta, it's a thought that's preceding bodhicitta. It's a way of thinking that thinks, first I will lead all sentient beings to enlightenment, like the shepherd gets all the flock into the corral first. Then I can sit down and have my taka, what do they call it here, my meal, I can relax once everyone else is safe. Right? Does that make sense? So it's said, of those, the only one which is actually bodhicitta is the first one, king-like bodhicitta. Because you can't lead all sentient beings to enlightenment until you're enlightened. It's kind of, it would not be possible. You don't know the depth of their karmic connections, the methods to lead them, and so forth. But the boat-like and the shepherd-like ways of thinking that are cultivating bodhicitta are stronger to actually develop the actual bodhicitta, because one is not even thinking, I will achieve enlightenment first. I'm going to do it, Those others, I'll take care of them later, There's a certain reluctance with that kind of mind to cherish others now. And that actually, in a sense, although actual king-like bodhicitta, based out on compassion and so forth, is immaculate, it's possible when you're trying to cultivate it with that frame of mind that it doesn't develop, you don't develop the actual thought of bodhicitta as quickly as a thought which is not actually bodhicitta. So it may be kind of similar here too. There are many ways of this question being addressed. In fact, you might investigate it in your own, discussions with others. How is it that focusing on the good that others have done us, the kindness that they have done as mother, is correct, whereas not focusing on the harm they've done? If we focus on the harm they've done, we have to realize that is basically due to our negative karma in the past. In fact, they've benefited us by that, in that they've helped us to purify that negative karma. Focusing on the kindness that they've shown us can lead to good qualities. So if you're given a choice what to do, skillfully, the Buddha said one should, think in this way. This is what's more conducive, and to start opening up the heart. Then, when you start to see the enormous kindness that sentient beings have given us over a number of lifetimes, the small harm that has come due to their acting as cooperative conditions for our negative karma seems very unimportant compared to that.
So I can imagine all the kindnesses they've done to me, and I can imagine all the harm that they've done to me really being a kindness, because it helps to train me in patience and wisdom and all the perfection. What I don't see is, it seems like I have been equal in my response to them.
Right. This is your original question. Yeah, I didn't actually. Yeah, right. So again, I think the similar kind of reasoning can go that it is not, it's more conducive again to egoism and so forth, that I have been as kind to them. Actually, I have only, in being kind to them, I have only been a cooperative cause for their virtuous karma to ripen. I haven't really given them something they didn't deserve, because they created the virtue for receiving my, whatever I want to call it, my kindness, my beneficence, or whatever. They deserve that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have experienced that karma.
Right.
And so I think there are different ways of thinking like that you can explore. Okay. Now, in the 7 causes and effect, we talked about Mashe, the first one, recognizing beings as mother, recalling their kindness, and then some of these may merge right into one another because they're very similar. At the same time, remembering their kindness, you may, at the same moment, same time, be developing the thought of repaying their kindness. And that itself is the cultivation of this kind of heartwarming love. These 3 causes naturally give rise to heartwarming love, although you can spend time on that affection, what they call affectionate love. And as a result of that, having affection for sentient beings, then recognizing, because you're already trained in renunciation, recognizing the plight that sentient beings are in, it's just a different way of looking. Rather than thinking, God, I've got to get out of, remember this song I mentioned before, I've got to get out of this place, remember? Was it The Doors, or? If it was the last thing, the animals? We got it? Okay, so, right. Okay. So one may, this should go on George's next album, right? George Galt's next album. But that's more the Mahayana, that we've got to get out of this place. Usually, if I've got to get out of this place, is a sense of renunciation, right? So now, maybe like with the shepherd-like, or the sense of bodhicitta, we've got to get out of this place. I've got to lead these sentient beings out of this burning pit where there's no pleasure. Even they don't recognize yet the depth of that. I've got to cultivate their minds over some period of time. So then one begins to investigate, having developed great compassion. This is said to be the backbone of the Mahayana, the heart of the Mahayana, great compassion. All of the good qualities arise from this, feeling mercy. This is what impels our gurus to appear in the world again and again. The great, even the Buddhas, still under the influence of great compassion, appearing in the world, teaching we dumb, stupid, sentient beings, recalcitrant, Recalcitrant means, I think, was kind of like hard to change.
Oh, like calcified.
Yeah, maybe, really. Right? So difficult to train. This is what impels them to appear in the world, And this is what we relish most also, the compassion of others, our mothers, our fathers, when we were growing up. So as a consequence of this, we begin then to think, how can I eliminate their suffering? Can I, as we said before, I know I should get a job and give them food stamps. I'll start my own hospital. I'll give free massages. I'll give free tea. But the number of people that we can actually benefit, even if you become like Bill Gates, bless his soul, bless his heart. Giving was it Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation, giving all these billions of dollars that he has embezzled out, he's earned in selling Microsoft software. Even if you have that, you can't possibly repay the kindness of sentient beings. Like the example I sometimes think of. A child growing up, given this choice, I could become like Bill Gates, I could make all this money and then change the world, What can you do? At most, you could make some contribution, especially this, not to be, disparaged, but that is not the ultimate thing you could do, because any help that you give is going to be gone. When the people die, they can't take that with them. You may be able to relieve their suffering, but you can't get rid of temporarily, but you can't get rid of the symptoms. The only way you could get rid of symptoms, is that the right word? Not symptoms. Cause. What's it about?
Relieve the symptoms.
Yeah, you can relieve the symptoms, but you can't get rid of the root source cause of those sufferings with ordinary things. So what would be if we had a choice of repaying our mother's kindness by eliminating, just superficial, giving them some temporary little medicine for the headache, or going in and actually having the operation that can alleviate their suffering, or whatever is necessary to be done, it would seem to be trivial to give them some temporary palliative, So with that sense of mind, developing the next thought is called the exceptional thought, that has various parts in it. It's an intensification of great compassion, thinking, I myself must alleviate their suffering through not just taking the symptoms away by giving them money or jobs or education in this lifetime, but cultivating them so that they can get rid of the source of their suffering. Now, how can I do that? There are many people that are more spiritual than I, that are still within cyclic existence, who are not yet enlightened. How could I alleviate the source of their suffering? I myself must be higher than they in order to lead them higher. So even if you go 10th level bodhisattvas are still suffering. In order to help all sentient beings most effectively, I have to become a Buddha. So now this is not quite yet bodhicitta, because maybe the decision in the mind is not yet firm. What one has to do is investigate, is it possible? Can I achieve enlightenment? What does it mean to become enlightened? All of my own faults have to be, it's not just like deciding I will become enlightened and then somehow magically it happens, or paying, getting a course, or something like that, getting your DVDs, BVDs. That's not, again, you want your money back. One investigates at this point, even the follower of faith investigates whether it's possible to achieve enlightenment. So they have to have some understanding of emptiness, that the nature of the mind is such that the delusions themselves, the root of which is self-grasping, are transient, they're temporary, that they can be removed from the mind. They're not part and parcel. It's not as though we are naturally sinful and that cannot be removed. We do have, it's not as though we're already godlike or divine, although we have the potential to become that way by removing the stains from our mind. So when a person begins to really want to eliminate the suffering of others and recognizes that it's possible to be achieved, then they can develop this thought authentically, which is extolled as the bodhicitta. Oh, I must attain enlightenment for the welfare of sentient beings. In order to bring this about, in order to alleviate their suffering, I must become enlightened. So that, at that point, that's the seventh effect. So each one acts as a cause of the previous one. The first, recognizing sentient beings as mother, becomes a cause of its results, remembering their kindness. And that is a cause of the thought to repay their kindness, and so forth. Now, the final result is the thought of bodhicitta. I must attain enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings. So you can see it fits with what we've learned before, the definition of bodhicitta. It is a mind, a state of mind, a primary consciousness which is accompanied with an aspiration for enlightenment. But how did that aspiration come about? No, caused by compassion for sentient beings, aspiring, wishing that sentient beings be free of suffering. Now that's the methodology of the equalizing and exchanging self and other. Of the seven causes and effect. Now the methodology of equalizing and exchanging self and others, suitable for beings like yourselves, especially Keith and the rest of us, who are of sharp faculties and who have a kind of like what was it, Missouri? I can't remember now. Missouri? Show me, kind of attitude. By recognizing at the beginning that we have a sense of a self which is erroneous, that our mind, which is perceiving a self-identity, is an ignorance, a misdirected wisdom, and that ignorance can be eroded by cultivating its antidote, the wisdom that sees the vacuity, the emptiness of that self. Seeing that, actually perceiving it, not just saying in words, but proving it and perceiving that, eventually with bare perception, with direct perception, that kind of actual seeing erodes the acquiescence, the grasping to that self. The acceptance and assent to that self that seems to be appearing. Then the individual who's going to cultivate this equalizing and exchange of self and others cultivates a special kind of equanimity that we talked about this morning. Not only the equanimity of friends, enemy, and strangers. All sentient beings have been equal as friend, enemy, and stranger. But all sentient beings are equal in being worthy recipients of both our love and compassion. This is said, one of my teachers, Sirkun Sencho Rinpoche, when I asked for some private teaching one time, how sometimes we want to have our own private teaching, right? I went, no, they can't come. I just wanted for myself. And Rinpoche said, well, write down some things different topics that you might like teaching on. And I put down, the development of bodhicitta, and then there was something about dream yoga and, how to make mo's, or different things like this, And Rinpoche went through the list. I'll teach you about bodhicitta and this other stuff, is maybe not so necessary, And Rinpoche so kindly gave teaching from the Lama Chopa. The Lama Chopa Guru Yoga, Guru Puja that we do, the glance meditation, the verses on developing bodhicitta, actually incredibly logical progression in this kind of development of equalizing and exchange of self with others, seeing the possibilities, seeing the disadvantages of self-cherishing and so forth. Rinpoche said, as a prelude to that, there is a tradition in the Mahayana of this Mahayana equanimity. The equanimity that we usually do, equalizing friend, enemy, and strangers, is said to be common to the hearers and solitary realizers. So the special Mahayana extension of that equanimity is recognizing all living beings, all sentient beings, as being equally worthy of being recipients of our love and compassion. It's like to see oneself as an ultimate physician, not turning away some out of displeasure that are, that they're our enemies. I'm not going to help you. Only help my friends here. I'm going to get rid of your suffering. Not like that. Or not like the ultimate patron of, the benefactor who would only give to those people he or she liked and ignore those who are also in need that we dislike. To have an impartiality toward all sentient beings like that. Then recognizing so in the equalizing and exchanging of self and others, how does one cultivate the heartwarming love? Well, one extends the meditation on the kindness of sentient beings as having been our mother. One extends that also to recognizing how sentient beings have been kind when they've been strangers, and even when they've been enemies. So, but Frank and I have similar kind of mind. I think we probably, resistant was that, well, what do you mean? When they've been strangers, how'd they help me? And they said, they built the infrastructure, the roads you drive on. Yeah, they got paid. Yeah, right, they were kind. They did it for their self-cherishing thought, so they could buy blockbuster videos and go to the disco. I'm not buying that they've been kind. One part of the mind comes up with that. Then you have to think. The definition of kindness from a Buddhist perspective does not depend on the other person's motivation. You might say, well, if they didn't mean to be kind, they weren't kind. But if something, we even say that the Dharma is kind. How does the Dharma is inanimate, isn't it? The Dharma, the realizations and so forth, the teachings, the imputed Dharma. But we say the Dharma is kind because it benefits us. So to begin to recognize how sentient beings, even though they may have been motivated sometime out of self-cherishing, something about the human condition or the sentient condition is that somehow we support one another. Who was it? No man is an island? Who said that? Some famous one of you. Longfellow. Maybe short. I can't remember who. To recognize that everything that we experience, any kind of pleasure that we experience, of course we had to create the karmic cause for it, but unless sentient beings created the cooperative conditions, we wouldn't be able to drink soy milk in a carton, or have ready-made clothing, or have lumber to build our house, or to have carpets and television and all of this sort of thing. So to meditate on, even when sentient beings have been strangers, they have been kind to us in providing the human condition. And even then to go even beyond that, in the equalizing and exchanging self and others, to recognize how sentient beings have been kind even when they've been enemy. As Frank was saying before, how they become the vehicles of purifying our negative karma. They become conditions. They are, on one hand, objects of our patience, objects of our compassion to develop good qualities. Without them, we wouldn't be able to develop patience and compassion and so forth, suffering sentient beings. It's sometimes said in the teachings, people think, the ultimate field of merit are the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, right? That's where you should make your offerings to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You should prostrate to the Buddhas and Gurus and Bodhisattvas, right? But Chandrakirti in the beginning of the Madhyamaka Avatara, the great Mahayana saint, yogi, practitioner, Chandrakirti, who wrote the entry into the middle way, he paid homage at the beginning of his text not to the gurus but to great compassion. He said, it's found in the sutras that the Buddhas pay homage to the Bodhisattvas because they will become Buddhas. By paying homage to the cause, you are implicitly paying homage to the effect. because there's no way to get, and that has great meaning, because if you only praise the effect, oh, the Buddhas, it doesn't inculcate in the world knowledge that how to achieve that state. So Chandrakirti said, like it said in the sutras, some people praise the crescent moon. They don't praise the full moon, even though the full moon is like, the desirable thing somehow. They praise the crescent moon because the crescent moon is the first cause of becoming the full moon. So like that, the Lama, with that in mind, prostrating to sentient beings, all sentient beings are the causes of our achieving that enlightened state. They are a field of merit equal to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So in trying to develop this heartwarming feeling for sentient beings, not only recalling that they've been mother and kind, but they've been kind as mother and friend, they've been kind as stranger, they've been kind as enemy. In generally, they've been exceptionally kind because they are the field within which we can practice generosity. Without sentient beings, we can't practice generosity. How can you practice moral discipline without the possibility of sentient beings to abstain from harming? There's no way to practice patience without irksome sentient beings. That's why the Bodhisattvas pray like Atisha's cook. Remember, Atisha, when asked to get rid of his cook, Atisha said, if I got rid of him, with whom would I practice patience? The Bodhisattvas see the enemies even as great treasures, and they even go out of their way to make karmic connection with them, so that in future lives, even if really irascible, terrible people, they even go out of their way to make karmic connection with those people. So in meeting them in future lives, when the conditions are a little bit different, out of their pure prayers, that they'll be able to cultivate them further, the very long view. So this exceptional equalizing self and others, the development of affectionate love for sentient beings, a warm affection for sentient beings, are precursors also in the equalizing and exchange of self and others. Then one begins to have the input of the teachings that first of all points out that our problem now, the difference between us and Buddha, as it says in the Lama Chopa, the Buddhas care only for sentient beings. We, ignorant sentient beings, completely suffering, only care for ourselves. As it said in many, many verses like that, as it says in the Lama Chopa, no need to say a lot. Just think about that. The Buddhas who have all happiness, are free from all suffering and fear, only cherish others. We, suffering sentient beings, completely fearful with our dramas, our stories, full of suffering, confused, we only cherish ourselves. What do we say? Homer, what's his name? Not Homer Pyle, was it? Homer Simpson, was it? Duh. It doesn't take an atomic scientist to recognize. So first of all, with dawning that kind of thought, first of all, recognizing that it is possible, the person who of sharp faculties, already with some understanding of emptiness, realizes there is no inherently existent I. In theory, the conventional I could designate I, who I cherish, all sentient beings, rather than just this self. Start opening up the field of who you're cherishing, because there is no findable I the way that one ordinarily thinks. There are many different kinds of logical ways of investigating this you find in the Bodhisattvacharya Avatar and other texts. So opening up the mind to the possibility, the correctness of cherishing others, the possibility of doing that it is that our mind has clear light nature, that we can overcome the self-cherishing thought. Once you see the possibility and the rightness of that it has, a a certain justification in terms of bringing about the happiness of others, then you start to engage in this process of first equalizing oneself and others. Like, the first step is training the mind in not overdoing the self-cherishing, let's say. Like, say, for instance, if you had the tendency is if there's one last piece of cream cheesecake on the table, sort of looking around and taking it for oneself, right? Later, when you're more mature, you might at least be willing to cut it in half and give it to half to your brother or sister, then you take the other half, equalizing. Later, you may be able to exchange when you don't need, when you no longer are needy, you may be able to just offer all of that, all of happiness and victory and so forth to others. So these are all of those methods are training in overcoming, in this process of first equalizing oneself and others. This is not the equanimity that we talked about before. This equalizing now is now equalizing yourself as an object of cherishing and others. Before, when we were talking about the equanimity meditation, that was equalizing friend, enemy, and strangers in the various ways. Now this is equalizing yourself with sentient beings. This is going further. One has to meditate on the shortcomings, having cultivated previously also this affection and compassion for sentient beings, wanting them to be free of suffering, seeing the possibility of, through understanding emptiness, that we can eliminate self-cherishing from the mind, and now recognizing its defects, the defects of the self-cherishing thought, the faults of the self-cherishing thoughts. This is one of the continual themes of the Wheel of Sharp Weapons, right? All of our suffering now, everything, if you think of it, everything that goes wrong, put the blame on one thing, the self-cherishing thought. It's not as though you just do it parrot-like, oh, this is self-cherishing thought, that's George's fault, that's George's fault. You actually sincerely try to think, how did this come about? It wasn't only that other person's hysterical reaction or this or that. I created the karmic cause for this. What's wrong? The Wheel of Sharp Weapons coming in. I've created the karmic cause for this in the past. Trying to recognize the defects of the self-cherishing thought, and recognizing, as we were just talking about earlier, the benefits of cherishing others. By cherishing others, I can perfectly keep morality. I can practice generosity. I can be patient. I can be perseverant and develop concentration and wisdom. With that intention, I can actually achieve enlightenment. Cherishing, in the Lama Chopa Puja, the Guru Puja, it says, the mind which cherishes sentient beings and would set them in bliss is the doorway to all higher qualities. If you think about it, the great beings, where do their qualities come from? It's from that altruistic wish that others profit. Not that they themselves become the big kahuna or, make millions of dollars or whatever. That then they give to sentient beings. But out of this kind of altruistic wish that cherishes others more than oneself. So the actual practice of Tonglen that we're going to finish with, the giving and taking. Tongwa means to give in Tibetan. There's a verb that means to give. Lempa means to take. Tonglen, giving and taking, is a meditation that is meant to enhance, for the person who's practicing the equalizing and exchange of self and others, enhance the the stage so that one is closer to developing bodhicitta by overcoming the self-cherishing thought, cultivating the cherishing of others in meditation. So imagining, first of all, sentient beings as suffering, recognizing their suffering nature. You have to have a deep understanding through your own meditations on renunciation and others, the depth of the suffering of sentient beings, not just the suffering we see. We see someone drive up in a brand new Lexus and nice clothes and looking, very buff, and we think, they're not suffering. Actually, they're suffering. We have to have an understanding of the depth of that. Then wishing, out of a sense of wishing them to be free of suffering, all sentient beings, as we said before, great compassion and great love, wanting sentient beings to be endowed with happiness. That is as one basis. Recognizing what is preventing us from doing that is our self-cherishing thought. And that self-cherishing thought, if we find the vital point, it can be eroded. The vital point is to take the suffering of others and put it onto the self-cherishing thought. Not onto the self, not onto the conventional Beth, or remember we were talking about before Beth, what Beth doesn't exist, what Beth does exist, not on the conventional Beth, but putting it onto this self-cherishing thought, to lose the argument, to be the lowest one for the sake of sentient beings. Imagine taking on, in meditation, the suffering of sentient beings in all the different realms. And imagine that coming to your heart, and that you have consciously decided, you have consciously decided to let the self-cherishing thought, we say, stew in your own broth. Is that what we say? We say stew in your own juices. Let it stew in its own juices, because all of the suffering outside are the juices of the self-cherishing thought. So let it stew in that, so to speak. Let it experience the suffering of others. Imagine yourself taking on the cancer of others, the unattractiveness, the old age, the bad karma, the bad luck, all of the unfortunate situations in samsara. I will experience, I will let the self-cherishing thought experience that, because in so doing, that will erode the self-cherishing thought. Then the stage of giving is one that is conjoined with the state of love. Taking has to come out of a sense of compassion and an understanding of the defect of the self-cherishing thought. That's what can motivate you. Both to take, you're happy to take others' suffering, because on one hand, so you're taking it away, their suffering. One hand, they're free of that, out of your compassion. Now you're happy to put it here, out of what? Recognizing the shortcoming of the self-cherishing thought. You want to put it here to get rid of this. Likewise, out of wanting others to be happy, taking your good qualities and imagine giving it to others. So again, that is cultivating, seeing the advantages of cherishing others, and out of love, wanting them to be happy, motivating one to actually do that kind of meditation and practice. Let me drink some of this bodhicitta. What is this? Tonglen? Very good Tonglen. If one gets familiar with Tonglen, as all of you know, you've probably studied before, then whatever happens in your life, up till now you've imagined taking on the loss. I will take on the bankruptcy. I will take on the leprosy of those people in India. I will take on the cancer and this. Imagine, but nothing happens. But still, your body is still the same, but you're causing the self-cherishing thought to start to erode. Then when tragedy does occur, when suffering does occur in your life, you can, instead of feeling, I didn't deserve this, I don't want this, you can think, now my wishes are being fulfilled. I'm actually taking on the suffering of others, and you can bear with that suffering joyfully, rather than having a resistant mind that thinks, I don't deserve this, I shouldn't have this, having trained in Tonglen. So let's try for a couple minutes. Let's sit comfortably. Again, quiet the mind. Again, temporarily letting go of your ego, your body, focusing on the clarity of your mind, recognizing your potential. Imagine in infinite space all living beings, all sentient beings, who've been kind as mother, but kind as stranger, kind as enemy, who are the fields within which we can equally with the Buddhas accumulate the causes for enlightenment. Having cultivated a sense of affection for them, recalling as earlier their kindness, and applying our own equality with them, how we wish to be free from suffering, they are suffering, how they should be free of that. Having developed a understanding of compassion, recognizing the defects of the self-cherishing thought, see how one can accomplish two aims at one time: the cultivation of compassion, freeing others from suffering, and putting that suffering on the self-cherishing thought. And subsequently to accomplish two aims in cultivating love, loving kindness, wishing others to be happy, while enhancing the cherishing of others in giving, taking on the suffering of sentient beings, freeing them from that, putting it on the self-cherishing thought, giving away that which we cherish the most, our body, our possessions, even our merits of the past, the present, and the future. Giving that to fulfill the thought of loving kindness, wanting others to be happy, that they might have that, and to cultivate that thought of cherishing others. So imagine you can begin by thinking of the suffering of later today, your own suffering, or the suffering of later this life. There'll be headaches, there'll be problems. Wouldn't it be good if we could get rid of them right now? If we, by experiencing them all right now, we could be free of having to experience them sporadically over time. And as an extension of that, how taking on the suffering of sentient beings, we can begin to eradicate this self-cherishing thought. Not just taking on our own suffering, that is our karmic too, but even the suffering of others. So with a mind of compassion, wishing others to be free of suffering, our mothers, our fathers, our loved ones, those whom we've hurt this lifetime, who are angry with us, whom we are angry with, certainly our friends, others, imagine taking on their suffering and the causes of their suffering, the karma within their mind streams, whether it be physical pain or headaches or physical symptoms, aging, death, cancer. Imagine that coming to you in the form of black smoke, being withdrawn. You're consciously taking from sentient beings, as though absorbing it from them in the form of black smoke, their suffering and their causes of suffering, to your heart. Being lowest, being criticized by others, having short life, not having pleasure. This is what others are experiencing now. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they were free of that? And instead I put it on the self-cherishing thought. I will experience their cancer. I will experience their confusion, their anger even. Imagine that coming to the area near your heart chakra, where the sense of I is prevalent, and where the self-cherishing attitude may seem to be prominent also. And just imagine experiencing that suffering, while joyfully experiencing it, because your wisdom recognizing that sentient beings are being freed from their suffering by you doing this. Black smoke coming to your heart. That black smoke bringing their suffering, which your self-cherishing thought is in having to endure. Then think when the self-cherishing thought eventually becomes eroded, destroyed, diminished, and we begin to actually have the capacity, without hindrance, to give to others out of cherishing them. Now imagine sending off to living beings who you freed from their suffering, their cancer, their old age, their ignorance, and so forth. Imagine sending out from your heart, on the beams of light from your heart, all of your possessions, your body primarily, in whatever form it might be useful, as food, as a companion, as a teacher, as a servant, as a boat, as Shantideva says, to take sentient beings across the ocean. Give up your possessions, those things that you hold on to with self-cherishing thought. Imagine sending them out to sentient beings as cooperative causes for their entering in the path, having the at least relief sometime, or actual causes to enter the path, cultivate the path. Even the virtuous karma that we've created now and in the past, even the karma, the virtue that we will create in the future, although not created yet, we can dedicate it, the 3-time merits. Imagine sending out, on the beams of all of these rays, sending out all of the body possessions and merits in the form of wish-fulfilling jewels coming to the presence of all sentient beings and becoming whatever they wish for, fulfilling their ultimate, temporal and ultimate wishes. Like a rain of nectar in the hot hells, warming breeze in the cold hells, a soothing, moisturizing nectar rain to the pretas whose bodies become less aggrieved. The animals taking on human form, overcoming their ignorance. All of the humans and gods, whatever their temporal wishes are that are preventing them from practicing Dharma, fulfilled by the wish-fulfilling gems, and also providing Dharma teachings for them, guidance, teaching them the path, giving even tantric empowerments, leading them to enlightenment. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could take on the aggressive minds of people in the world today, the acquisitive minds, selfish? If we could, by taking them on ourselves and experiencing them, others could be free of that and the world could be in a state conducive to the practice of the spiritual path. So you can imagine also breathing in that suffering in the form of black smoke. If you like to put it on the, conjoin it with the breathing. To your heart. Self-cherishing thought has to experience that. And again, send out from your heart with the thought of loving kindness, seeing the advantages of cherishing others. Send out your body, merits, your possessions in the form of wish-fulfilling gems toward all sentient beings. On the exhalations. That was a long breath. Taking on suffering in the form of black light, giving away happiness, virtue, help in the form of white light, training the mind in bodhicitta. Imagine your rivals, those that you have problems with, actually profiting. They're actually becoming happy because of your giving. And you're taking away their sufferings, their problems. Recognizing that they've been your mother numberless times. They're exactly equal in wanting to be happy and free of suffering. And finally, dedicate the merits that we've created today, this course also, all the merit we've created in the past that is not yet ripened, all the merit that we will create. Due to this merit, may it become a cause of our quickly achieving the two bodhicittas, the conventional bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness within the continuum of one held by bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta. And by so doing, practice the bodhisattva deeds, quickly become, like Shakyamuni Buddha, an enlightened being, spontaneously, effortlessly enacting the welfare of all sentient beings. And then seal that dedication in meditation on the emptiness of the three spheres. That great wish that this karma, virtuous karma we've created, ripen in that way. The karmic seeds themselves are empty. They can't be found anywhere, merely imputed. The goal dedicated to, merely a conceptual construct, can't be found anywhere, our achievement of enlightenment. It can come about conventionally, but dreamlike, illusion-like. And the act of dedication, likewise, can't be found on any one moment of the act of dedication. It's just, dedication is just a name we give to, conceptually give to this set of parts. A mind aspiring to link the karma in this way, karmic seeds in this way. But in so doing, there is a karmic efficacy, dependent arising, that these goals can be achieved. Thank you very much. Efficacy. Who wants to explain efficacy? Effectiveness. The efficacy of something means its ability to give its effect. Mm-hmm. So thanks, gang. Tomorrow, those of you who have the leisure, you leave on for the we'll have our final examination, and should be good. And then on Thursday, we'll have final exam in Lorig. Those of you who are also doing Lorig, or if you know someone. Thanks for your perseverance in the course. A lot of you, I know, gave up so many different pleasures and reruns of The Sopranos and who knows what else. I don't know. What you gave, American Idol or something? That was and you trekked here, Don and Diana and maybe others from distant places, and Elaine from over, many tens of minutes in both directions. And thank you for your perseverance. I've enjoyed. And if you're interested, we'll continue later, in September and studying other things. And thank you. Anyway, thanks.